Hello guys, and welcome to another episode of biology. And of course, today we are going to be going to a new topic, that is reproduction and growth. All right, so this is what we'll be dwelling on over the next episodes. Okay, so please, I would love you to pay rapt attention and of course follow up with the application. All right, so do not forget that these tutorials, these episodes, they are all brought to you by the O3 Schools app. Okay, if you're preparing for any O-level exam, for JAMB, for WAEC, okay, for GC, for NECO, this application, these tutorials, all of them, they are sufficiently enough for you to succeed at once. And that's our goal, for you to pass your JAMB or your WAEC exam or any O-level exam at once. All right, so we'll talk about the app in a moment. Let us see a past question from the app. This from the JAMB app. This is a 2016 question. Number 9. It says here that an example of organism that reproduce by binary fission is A says Volvox, B says Hydra, C says Paramecium, D says Spirogyra. All right. So we'll come back to this question and many more at the end of the class and not before, because at O3 Schools we pride ourselves, all right, in teaching you first. Let us give you value first, so that after you have learned, answering questions will be the least of your problem. All right, so please ensure you get the application. It has everything you need to succeed in your examination. It has all the past questions for all the subjects in one application. What's more, wonderful features like the classroom feature. The classroom feature has lecture notes structured according to the syllabus for your JAMB or your WAEC. It has a study plan. You can create a study plan to collapse all of your subjects and all of the syllabus for those subjects for you, all right, and create a timetable for you so that you can easily finish your syllabus. Many of you prepare for your exam, you don't study with your syllabus. That is very, very bad, all right? So, but with the help of the classroom, you are widely covered. You don't even need to go and get textbooks, because the classroom has all the notes that you need. Then what's more, also, there's a question search feature, just like the way we search for this question. We just went to the app, went to biology as a subject, searched for reproduction and questions that has come out under reproduction. Voila, they came out for what to pick from. All right, so you can cement your understanding about a particular topic by using the question search feature. So after reading a particular topic, search for question that has been set over it. All right, and then answer all of them to build your confidence. What's more, also, there's a mock challenge on the app, all right? So every Saturday, we ensure that we organize a mock competition for all students that are writing the exam for this year, all right? So what you do is that you come to the application by 10 a.m. for the JAMB mock, and then by 1 p.m. for the WAEC mock, all right? So you compete with all other students writing the exam for this year to win amazing prizes. But of course, the reason why we do that challenge is not because of the prizes. It's not because you should come and win prizes. For you to work, to track how prepared you are per time. Okay, so there are so many mock exams, okay, over the course of your preparation. So please ensure that you have the application fully functional. All right, so the mock will expose you to past questions for JAMB or WAEC. We expose you to likely exam question. We'll put you in place of the examiner and see how they reason and see the area they may likely ask question from. All right, so it's all wonderful, all right, and then it makes you to track how prepared you are per time. So all of these wonderful features are on this application, and many more I cannot talk about, as you can see them right now. All right, so please get the app, activate it. Activation fee is less than the price of rice and chicken in a good restaurant. If you go to a restaurant and say, give me rice and chicken, the activation fee is far less than that. So please do not substitute your future for rice or for ice cream, okay, or for clothes. Okay, get the application, activate it, start early. All right? Look at our testimonies. You see how people are blasting over 300 scores, 290, 280, 270. There are so many, 250, 200. There are so many. So please do not let this opportunity pass you by. All right, so let us go to reproduction today. All right, and of course, what is reproduction? All right, we all know what reproduction is. Should I use PG English to explain it to you? All right, reproduction, we say, is a process whereby living organisms make young ones of their own kind. Okay, so we say reproduction is a process whereby living organisms make young ones of their own kind. All right, so just like when you when you born pikin, for example, so that the pikin will resemble the father or mostly more, or resemble the mother, or it resemble both of them. All right. So that is what reproduction. All right. So that is what the process whereby living organisms make what young ones of their own kind, of their own species. And reproduction is very, very important. Why is this important? It is important, one for the survivor, okay, and two for the continuity, okay, continuity of species. All right. So reproduction is very important for the survivor or for the continuity of species. That's why you see that sometimes when maybe people get married and they don't have children, you see it begin to what cause what a lot of worries and a lot of concern to them, because they need what their lineage to what to continue. They do not want their lineage to end there. All right. So that they say, this man is survived. If you have gone to burials before, you see they'll say this so man is survived by so number of grandchildren, so number of great grandchildren, so number of great grandchildren, and so number of children, and so on and so forth. You hear those kind of things. All right. So you see that it's a generational thing. Okay. So the survival of the species is very, very important. The continuity of the species is very, very important. You must pass the baton, or you should pass the baton to what? To another generation to come. Okay, so that is why reproduction is very, very important for the survival of the species and also for the continuity of what? Species. Okay, and reproduction is made possible, or it takes place rather, by the process of what we call DNA copying. All right, reproduction takes place by a process called DNA copying. All right, and what is DNA first of all? All right, we know that DNA stands for what? The oxyribonucleic acid. All right, that is what DNA is. Okay, deoxyribonucleic acid. All right, and what is deoxyribonucleic acid, or what is DNA itself? And DNA is a molecule, or is the molecule that carries what we call genetic instruction. That carries genetic instruction. All right. So DNA is a molecule that carries what? Genetic instruction, that is what? Responsible for what? For development, for growth, for functioning, okay, for functioning and reproduction of all known living organisms, including many viruses. Okay, so that is what DNA. DNA is a molecule that contains what? Genetic instruction. All right, that is used for what? For growth, for development, for functioning and reproduction of all known living organisms, all right, and many viruses. Okay, so DNA is very, very important. It is what contains what to call your genetic information. It is what contains what to call genetic information. It is very, very necessary for growth. It is important for development. It is important for functioning, and also very, very important for reproduction. Now let us see some key features, okay, of this DNA. All right, especially let us talk about the structure. How does this DNA look like? Wetin him resemble? Okay, so the DNA, all right, is a double helix shape. Okay, double. It has the structure of DNA has a double helix shape. All right, so I'm showing you what's currently on the board right now. The structure, okay, of DNA. All right, it has a double helix shape, okay, like that of a twisted ladder. Okay, like that of a twisted ladder. All right, and DNA was discovered, all right, by James Watson, and Francis Crick. In the year 1953. In the year what? 1953. Okay, so we said that DNA has a double helix shape like that of a twisted ladder, and it was discovered by scientists James Watson and Francis Crick, okay, in 1953. And DNA is made up of what we call repeating units. DNA is also made up of what we call repeating units called what? Nucleotides. All right, DNA is made up of repeating units, what known as what? Nucleotides. And of course, each nucleotide rather, right, is made up of what? One, we have what we call what? A phosphate group. Each repeating unit, okay, or nucleotide that is found inside what DNA is made up of one, a phosphate group, okay, and then number two is made up of what? A sugar. That sugar is called deoxyribose, okay? That sugar is called what? Deoxyribose. Just from the full meaning of DNA, we say DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid, okay? So each repeating unit, okay, in DNA, that is, each nucleotide is made up of a phosphate group, it's made up of sugar, and then number three is also made up of a nitrogenous base, okay? Also made up of what? A nitrogenous base, okay? So basically, all of this we are saying, it is good to know them basically, all right, but I doubt questions will be asked of you from here, all right, but of course, do not leave anything to chance, okay? So please, it's expected that what? You know all of these, okay? So each repeating unit in the DNA is made up of a phosphate group, it's made up of what? Of a sugar, and also made up what? Of a nitrogenous what? Base. And of course, there are what? Four bases, okay? One we call what? Adenine, okay? Then also have the one we call thiamine. Then number three, we have the one called cytosine, and then number four, we have what? Guanine, all right? Guanine, Guanine, all right? So these are the four bases, all right? These are the four bases that is found in what? In the DNA, all right? And basically what happens is that the adenine pairs with what? With the thymine, while what? The cytosine pairs with what? With the guanine. And what is the function of all this DNA? What is the function? The function of the DNA, number one, of course, is to store genetic information, all right? Is to store genetic, number one, to what? To store genetic information. So all the information that has to do about what your gene, okay, is in the DNA. And then number two, it guides the production of protein, all right, through the process of translation and transcription. Okay, so number two, it guides the production of protein to the process of translation and transcription. And then number three, it is what? Transferred, all right, from parent to what? To offspring. So it is inherited from parents to offspring. Okay, so please take note of that. These are the functions of DNA. Number one is to store genetic information, which is very important. Number two, guides the production of protein through the process of transcription and translation. And then number three, it is inherited from parent to offsprings. Now, where can we find what the DNA? All right. So, for example, in eukaryotic cells, all right, in eukaryotes, like human cells, for example, we can find the DNA in the nucleus. We find it in the nucleus, okay? So in eukaryotic cells, we find it in nucleus. Why? In prokaryotes, okay, like in prokaryotic cells, like bacteria, okay, we can find them freely floating in the cytoplasm, freely floating in the cytoplasm. So please take note of that, all right? So in eukaryotic cell, like the human cells, you can find the DNA, we find it rather in the nucleus, all right? Why in what? In prokaryotes, okay? Like example, bacteria, right? We can find them freely floating in the what? In the cytoplasm. And we say that what reproduction, okay, takes place by the process of what? Of DNA copying. So we have seen what DNA is. All right, so let nobody confuse you or ask you a question on DNA and you are not able to answer, at least for the basic part of it. All right, so that is that for that. And we say that what reproduction takes place by the process of what? DNA copying. So what is it, DNA copying? So DNA copying, just like you are making a copy. DNA copying. All right, it's what you are making a copy of what? Of the DNA, so that it can be what? Transferred to the next one. All right, so DNA copy is a process whereby a copy of the DNA is made so that it can be transferred to the what? To the next one, or to the next what? Offspring. All right, so it's as simple as A, B, C. All right, now basically there are two modes, okay, of reproduction. All right, so we have number one, we have one we call the asexual reproduction. And then number two, we now have the sexual reproduction. Okay, so these are the two modes of what? Of reproduction that we have, right? We have asexual reproduction and what? Sexual reproduction. So basically, we are going to be looking at asexual reproduction in this episode, okay? All right, so and then we can now we'll continue dealing with asexual, and we are done, we'll go towards sexual. Okay, let us go as our speed can carry, so that we do not get tired. All right, so what is asexual reproduction? Asexual reproduction, in asexual reproduction, basically only one parent is involved. Okay, so in asexual reproduction, only one single parent, okay, is involved. Okay, in asexual reproduction, only one single parent is what? Is involved. And of course, there is nothing like reproductive cells or gametes. Okay, so in asexual reproduction, we don't have anything like reproductive cells. Okay, we don't have anything like what? Like gametes. Also, another thing we do not have is fusion of gametes. All right, so there's nothing of fusion coming together. All right, so there's no fusion of gametes in asexual reproduction. We only have one single parent. All right, there's no reproductive cells, there are no gametes, and of course, there's nothing like fusion of gametes. And again, there are no variation. No variation. There's nothing like variation. And what is variation? Variation, there are slight differences that you observe, okay, between parents and their offspring. Okay, so slight differences. That's what to call. Please take note of that. Variation are slight differences that we observe between parents and their offspring. Okay, so in asexual reproduction, where one single parent is involved, all right, there are no reproductive cells or gametes. Okay, there's nothing like fusion of gametes also, and there's no variation. So it means that that the offspring that are produced from this single parent, they are identical, they are the same. Okay, they are identical or the same. Okay, because they're coming from one single parent. After all, we won't compare them to. Okay, all right. So it's as simple as ABC. Asexual reproduction, one single parent is involved. All right, there are no reproductive cells or gametes. There's no fission of gametes, and there is nothing like variation. And we say that variation, there are slight differences that we observe between parents and their offspring. And we see asexual reproduction in most unicellular organisms. Okay, we see them in most unicellular organisms, or some simple multicellular organisms. Okay, so we observe asexual reproduction mostly in unicellular organisms, or in some simple multicellular organisms. And there are different types of asexual reproduction. Okay, and that's what we want to take a look at next. Okay, so the types of asexual reproduction. And before we continue, please, we have noticed that a lot of you do not support us. All right. And how do you support us? First of all, okay. Number one, by liking the video. Liking this video. That hand that is like this. Just click on that like button. That is all. All right. You are not paying anybody to like. Okay. And liking the video will make other students who are not aware of this channel to be easily aware of it, because the YouTube will be recommending the video to them. All right. So please ensure you click on that like button right now before you continue. Also, you should subscribe. Subscription is free to the channel. Okay, to this YouTube channel, subscription is free. Whether you're watching from YouTube or from TikTok or watching from Facebook, all right, please ensure you like, ensure you subscribe. Okay, ensure you share. Copy the link of the video, share to your friends and your loved ones. All right, share to your class group. Let all of them come and learn for free. All right, and then of course, do not forget, all right, to keep talking about the application to your friends and loved ones also. Okay, so we are still talking about the types of asexual reproduction that we have, and they include, number one, we have what we call binary fission. Okay, or let me just say fission. Okay, because we have binary fission, we also have multiple fission. Okay, so these are the types of asexual reproduction. Binary fission. Okay, number two, we have what we call budding. Okay, budding. Number three, we have the one we call fragmentation. All right. Then number four, we also have the one we call spore formation. And then number five, we also have regeneration. Okay. So I'm putting regeneration here because most times you are going to see what this form, okay, most times, okay, but regeneration is not really a type of asexual reproduction per se, but during unfavorable conditions, okay, organisms have no choice, okay, than to regenerate their lost parts, okay. Even we as human beings, our liver can regenerate, okay, because most times maybe we do not, there's no sudden surgery or something like that. If a part of your liver gets cut, okay, it can regenerate back. All right. So is that simple? We'll talk about it very soon. All right. So these are the types of asexual reproduction that we have. Types of asexual reproduction. Asexual. Binary fission or fission, budding, then three, fragmentation, spore formation, and then regeneration. So let us begin with binary fission. What is binary fission? Fission, first of all, means splitting of cells. Fission means splitting, to split. Splitting of cells. You know that fusion is coming together. Fission is splitting, okay? So fission is what? Splitting of cells. So what is binary fission, first of all? So binary fission is a process whereby a single parent, okay, is being split into two halves. Okay, a single parent is split into two halves. All right, a single parent is split into two halves. Okay, or split into two offsprings. Okay, or split into two daughter cells. Into two daughter cells, okay, or split into daughter cells. So that is binary fission, okay. A single parent is split into two halves or into two offspring or daughter cell. But of course, like I've said earlier, there are two types of fission, okay. We have one we call the binary fission, which we are talking about being split into two halves. They also have the multiple fission, okay. And in multiple fission, a single parent is split into many nuclei, okay. Is broken down or split into many nuclei, with each one identical to the parent. Each one of these many nuclei, okay, is identical to the parent. Also for binary fission, all right, for binary fission, a single parent is split into two halves, all right, or two offspring or daughter cells, with each of these offspring identical to the parent. So in summary, okay, binary fission involves the separation, okay, of the body of an organism into two halves. Into two halves. Halves. Okay, binary fission involves the separation of the body of an organism into what? Two halves. And what happens? What happens mostly is that in this process of what? Of binary fission, an organism will duplicate its genetic material. It will duplicate, it will copy the DNA, okay? It will duplicate its genetic material, or the DNA now, okay? And then it will divide it into two parts, okay? It will divide it, then divide it into two parts. All right, and after it has divided into these two parts, we call that process, or what to call the process is called cytokinesis. Okay, the cytokinesis, a process whereby an organism, okay, duplicates its genetic material and divides it into two parts. It's called cytokinesis. Let me write it better. Cytokinesis. Please take note of these, okay? And after it has divided its genetic material or DNA into two parts, okay, each organism will now receive one copy of the DNA, okay? Dividing it into two parts, each organism will now receive a copy of the DNA. Now, in what organisms can we find binary fission? Okay, we say it is found very, very common in simple unicellular organism. Okay, in simple unicellular organism, like bacteria. We can find binary fission in bacteria. Okay, we can find them in amoeba. In amoeba, we can see binary fission in paramecium. We can see binary fission in Chlamydomonas. We can also see binary fission also in Leishmania. Okay, so these are the organisms where we can mostly see binary fission. Okay, so please take note of that. Okay, this is binary fission. Now let us quickly go to the next one, which is budding. Now, budding is mostly seen in two organisms such as yeast and hydra. Yeast and hydra. Okay, you can see body mostly in yeast and then two hydra. Okay, and in the case of body, okay, we observe a small protrusion or outgrowth. Okay, in body we observe is a protrusion, okay, an extension, a protrusion or an outgrowth. This outgrowth is usually known as what we call the bud. Okay, it's known as as the bud. The bud will now undergo maturation eventually, to undergo maturation. Okay, so it begin to mature. All right, and in the case of hydra, we observe what we call tentacle formation. All right, and of course in the end, all right, the bud will now mature, and then it will now break out, it will detach itself, and then to now form a new organism. Okay, so for budding, okay, a new organism is found, okay, is formed from the bud, from a small protrusion or outgrowth from the main parent. So in summary, okay, for budding, a new organism develops, okay, from outgrowth or bud. Okay, and this happens usually due to cell division at one particular part. All right, a body usually happens due to cell division at one particular part. All right, so please take note of that. So that is that about budding, and of course, like we said, we can see them in yeast and in hydra. Now let us now go to fragmentation. And of course, from the word fragmentation, we know we can say. We know the word called fragments. All right, this means that the parents will be broken down into many fragments. Okay, into many pieces. All right, and then each of those pieces or each of those fragments will now form a new organism. So that is what fragmentation simply means. Okay, so a parent will be broken down into many fragments or into several pieces, all right, and then each of that piece or each of those fragments, all right, will now form a new organism. And we observe fragmentation in organisms like flatworms, in flatworms, in starfish, okay, in green algae, green what? Algae, the one we call what? Spirogyra, all right? And so on and so forth, okay? And that will now take us to what? To spore formation, okay? And spore formation is usually found what? In fungi, especially the what? The multicellular fungi, like rhizopus, okay? And of course, in spore formation, we see thread-like structures known as what? Hyphae, okay? All right? In what? In spore formation, we see thread-like structures known as what? Hyphae. So that's something like this, okay? And when these thread-like structures come together, they form what we call what? Mycelium. Please take note of that, okay? So we see what? Thread-like structures known as what? Hyphae. And when these many hyphae come together, they form what? This what? Mycelium. Also, there's also what? A ball-like what? A ball-like structure known as what? The sporangium, okay? So this is how it looks like, something like this. And then inside the sporangium, we now have what? Spores rather. We have spores inside. This is the sporangium, okay? Or the sporangia. And then we now have what? These thread-like structures known as what? Hyphae, all right? So these ones are the hyphae. Okay, if a group come together, I'll call them the mycelium. These ones inside here, they are what? They are the spores. Okay, so this is how basically is what it looks like. So spore formation is observed, like I said, in what? In fungi, especially the multicellular ones, such as what? Rhizopus. And they have thread-like structures known as what? This hyphae. And when these many hyphae come together, they form this what? Mycelium. And of course, apart from this mycelium, they also have what? A ball-like what? Structure, all right? Known as what? Sporangium. That has what? Many what? Spores inside. So what happens is that when the fungi is what? Is mature, you see that what? This sporangia, okay, will now what? Will burst. It will burst. B-U-R-S-T. And when the sporangia burst, what happens is that what? The spores will now what? Will fall to the ground. And of course, if the conditions are favorable, it will what? Lead to the formation of new what? Organism, okay? So that is what basically what? Spore formation. So now let's quickly talk about regeneration. Like I told you, regeneration is not really what? A type or mode of what? Of asexual reproduction like that. But of course, during unfavorable condition, you see organisms like Hydra may lose a part of their body, lose a part of their body, all right? And of course, after this happens, there are specific cells, okay, in the body of that organism that have the ability what? To regenerate what? New part, okay? To regenerate what? A new what? Part. Okay, just like a repair mechanism, mechanism, all right? And even our livers also, like I've said earlier, right, is an example of this part of that regenerate. So under unfavorable condition, when they do not have any choice, okay, they do not have any choice. That's the only choice that is left for them. So they have to what? Regenerate what? A new part. Okay, like I said, this is found what? In planarians or what? In Hydra. Okay, so that is basically what? Regeneration. And that will now take us to asexual reproduction in plants. Asexual reproduction in plants. And asexual reproduction in plants is known as vegetative propagation, or also called what? Vegetative reproduction, right? So they are the same thing, that one and the same, all right? So asexual reproduction in plants, asexual reproductor in plants is known as what? Vegetative propagation or reproduction. Okay, and what is vegetative propagation or reproduction? Okay, it's simply a way of what? Of reproducing, all right, from what? From the vegetative part of what? Of the plant. Okay, so that is simple as ABC. All right, vegetative propagation or reproduction is a type of what? Reproduction whereby plants reproduce, okay, from the vegetative parts, okay, from their own vegetative parts, like what are the stems, like from the stems, like from the roots, from the leaves, okay, and many other specialized what structures for what, for reproductions in what, in the plant. Like for example, now for the roots, all right, example is what is potato, sweet potato. All right. If you take your sweet potato, for example, now if you take the roots of a sweet potato and you put it on the ground, okay, it will give you a new what, organism. Okay, to give you a new plant, okay, to give you a new potato. All right. If you take the roots and put it on the ground to give you a new potato. Also, if you look at your sweet potato very well, you see that what on the body, I don't know if I'm drawing a fine potato, and the body will be seeing what, some buds. Okay. All right. Also, if you put what, this what potato on the ground, carry this, buy one potato, now put it on the ground to give you another potato. Okay, so that's an example. Like the root is what is, and what is, you can give sweet potato as an example for the what, for the root. While for the stem, you can talk about the normal potato, okay, and then ginger. Okay, for the stem, normal potato, ginger, they are examples, okay, of what, of modified stems. And then for leaf, we have what, the bryophyllum. Okay, and all of this what occurs what, naturally. Okay, and of course you should know that what, all of these are what, they are also they have what, advantages. Okay, using the vegetative part of plant, all right, to what, to produce a new offspring has what, advantages, also have disadvantages. Okay, what are some of the advantages? Okay, we can produce what, identical what, offspring. Okay, we can produce identical offspring. That's one of the advantages. But the disadvantage is that whatever if in the what, in the parent there's a trait you do not like, there's an undesirable trait. All right, so you will not be able to do anything what about it. That means you also transfer what, that what trait also to the what, to the offspring. Okay, so it has advantages, it also has what, disadvantages. Therefore, we can say that what, that vegetative what, reproduction is any form or any type of what, asexual reproduction where a new plant grows from part of what, of the parent plant. Okay, from a part of the parent what, plant, except what, the flowers, so except the flowers. Okay, that is what vegetative reproduction. Okay, or grows from a specialized what, structure. Okay, or grow from a specialized reproductive what, structure in the plant. Like for example, like the stolon. Okay, like the stolon. All right, like the rhizome. Okay, like the bulb. Okay, all of these, that what, they are special what, reproductive parts found what, in the plant. Okay, even the combs, we have the combs. Okay, we have the stolon, we have the rhizome, we have bulb, we have what, combs, we have a tuber, okay, and the racks. Okay, so that is what vegetative what, reproduction is. Any form of asexual reproduction where what, a new plant is gotten from part of the parent or plant. Okay, except what, the flowers. Okay, or grows from what, specialized structures meant for reproduction in the plant, such as what, the stolon, the rhizome, the bulb, the combs, and the tubers. And of course, vegetative reproduction or vegetative propagation is classified into two. Such as one we have what, the natural vegetative what, reproduction. Okay, natural vegetative propagation or reproduction, and then the artificial what, vegetative what, reproduction. The natural are the ones we talked about here, the stems, the roots, the leaves. Okay, all right. For example, we have the underground stems. All right. We have what, the leaves, the roots. Okay, all this one, they are what, they are natural vegetative what, reproduction what, techniques. Natural vegetative reproduction what, techniques. So let us now look at the natural vegetative reproduction or natural vegetative propagation. All right, so please, if you have not liked this video for any reason, please ensure you like this video, ensure you subscribe to this channel, ensure you share this video link to your friends, to your loved ones, to your class groups. Okay, let them all come and learn. So we're looking at the natural first, and natural what, vegetative what, propagation. For the natural vegetative propagation, examples that we have here are one, we have underground stems. Okay, then we have what, runners. Okay, then we have roots. All right, we have what, leaves. Okay, then we have what, bulbils. bulbils. Okay, Bulbils. Okay, so we have bulbils. Okay, all right. So these are what the natural what vegetative what types of what of propagation that we have. Okay, underground stems, the runners, the roots. Okay, the leaves, the bulbils. Okay, so let us begin with what with the underground what stems. With the underground stems. The underground stems, they are modified plants. They are modified what? Plants that are derived from stem tissues. Okay? They are derived from stem tissues. Stem what? Tissues. But do you know where they are found? They are found under the soil surface. Okay? Under the soil surface. Okay? So those are what? The underground stems. Okay? They are modified plants that are what? Derived from stem tissues, but they are found under the soil surface. Okay, and what is the function of what of this underground stem? They serve as storage tissues. Okay, they serve number one. So they serve as storage tissues for food and nutrients. Okay, as well, and perenniation. Okay, what this perenniation basically means is survival. Okay, it helps the plant to what to survive during unfavorable what survival during unfavorable seasons. Okay, so that is what we call what perenniation, right? It helps what the plant to survive during unfavorable what seasons. Okay, so this is what the function of what of underground what stem. Okay, it's the importance rather of the underground stem. Okay, they serve as storage tissues for food and nutrients, and perenniation help the plant to survive during unfavorable seasons or what conditions. Okay, so that is that for that. Now, examples of what of underground stems. Basically, we have the rhizome. We have rhizome. Okay, rhizome. Okay, we have suckers. Okay, we have corms, corms. Then we have bulbs. Okay. Then also we have tubers. Okay, all of these, they are all what examples of what of underground what stems. Underground stems. Okay, and we're going to look at them one after the other. Let us quickly look at the rhizome. The rhizome. What is the rhizome? Okay, the rhizome is found what horizontally underground. Okay, it is an horizontal underground plant. The rhizome. 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 Okay, it's an horizontal underground plant stem. Okay, capable of forming okay a root and shoot of a new plant. Okay, so that is what a rhizome. Okay, it's an horizontal underground plant that is capable of producing the shoot and root system of a new plant. Okay, that is what the rhizome. Okay, horizontal underground plant stem capable of what? It's an example of what? Of an underground stem. Okay, so it's an horizontal underground plant stem that is capable of producing what? A root and shoot of a new what plant, or a shoot and a root of a new plant. Okay, an example of plants, okay, that do this are canna lilies. Okay, we have turmeric. Okay, also we have ginger. Okay, we have what? Turmeric. Okay, then we have what? Bamboo also. Bamboo. All right, all of these are examples, okay, of what of the rhizome. All right, they are plants, example of plants, okay, that do this. So they are horizontal underground plant stem capable of forming a root and shoot of a new plant. Okay, canna lilies, ginger, turmeric, bamboo. Okay, also have what we call bearded iris. Bearded iris is also what an example. So please just take note of all of that. Now let us now go to the next one, which is of course the bulbs. Let us talk about the bulbs. 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 Okay, all this one, they are short and they are upright with leaves. They are short. Okay, they are short and upright with leaves modified into scales. Okay, with leaves modified into scales. Okay, they are short and upright with leaves modified into scales. Example is onion. Okay, e.g., your onion, right? Your onion, right? Your tulips, okay? Your tulips, your garlic. Okay, all these are examples of what? Of bulbs. Okay, you have talked about onion bulb before, isn't it? All right, the garlic bulb. All right, tulips. Okay, all of these are examples of what? Of bulbs. They are short and upright with leaves modified into what? Scales. All right, those are the word example: onions, tulip, and garlic. Now let's talk about the corms also. Now corms, corms. They are short, upright. They are fleshy too. Corms. They are short, okay, they are upright, they are fleshy, okay, they are hard, okay, and they are covered with what? With thin, dry paper, okay, covered with what? With thin, dry paper leaves, okay. So that is what the corms. They are short, they are upright, they are fleshy, they are hard and covered with thin, dry paper leaves. Thin, dry paper leaves. Okay, so those are what? Those are corms. Okay, and examples, we can see them what in gladiols. Okay, gladiolus. You can also see them in crocus. Okay, these are what are examples of our plants. We can find them. All right, so those are what? Corms. Okay, short, upright, fleshy. All right, they are hard, also covered with what? With thin, dry paper leaves. Gladiolus and what? And crocus are examples of what? Of that. Then let us now talk about the stolon. The stolon. Stolon has a slender stem. Slender stolon. S-T-O-L-O-N. Stolon. Okay, this one has what? A slender stem. Okay, a slender stem that grows horizontally. A slender stem that grows horizontally. That grows horizontally along the ground. Okay, giving rise to roots and vertical branches, at specialized points, okay, known as nodes. Okay, so that is what the stolon. Okay, the stolon is what is slender. It's a slender stem, okay, that grows horizontally along what? The grounds, okay, giving rise to what? To roots and vertical branches at specialized points, okay, at the what? At the nodes, okay, and the nodes. And of course, that is that for what? For the stolon. And then now take us to what? To runners, R-O-U, runners that are creeping. Runners are what? Are creepers, okay, runners. Let's look at runners. All right, so they are creeping stems. Runners, this one, they are creeping stems, creeping. C-R-E-E-P-I-N-G, they are creeping stems which grow on the surface of the soil. Okay, so runners, they are creeping stems that grow on the surface of the soil. And what they do is that they produce what we call adventitious roots. All right, they produce adventitious roots. Okay, an example of all of these runners are like the Bahama grass. Examples are the Bahama grass, okay, also sweet potato. Okay, I've seen sweet potato growing before now. You see everywhere filled up, okay? So these are creeping stems which grow on the surface of the soil and they produce adventitious roots. And these adventitious roots are roots that grow on part of the plant, Okay, they grow on the part of what? On part of what? Of the plant. They are called adventitious roots. Roots that grow on the part of what? That grow on the plant itself. Okay, they are called what? Adventitious or true. So you can see them what in Bahama grass and in sweet potato. All right, so those are what runners. Okay, creeping stems who grow on the surface of the soil. All right, and then that will now take us to leaves, to the leaves. Okay, also we say the leaves is a mode of natural vegetative reproduction. All right, so the leaves also. So for example, like some plants like Bryophyllum. I gave an example before. Okay, some plants like Bryophyllum. Okay, another one is what is Begonia. Example, another plant is what? Is Begonia. Okay, like in Bryophyllum or Begonia, okay, they propagate vegetatively by what? By their leaves. Now, for the leaves, a new plant grows. It grows from what? From the buds that are found on the margin of the leaves. That are found on the margin of the leaves. Okay, so it's a type of what? Asexual reproduction. Okay, where a new plant grows or a new plant is formed from the buds that are growing on the margin of the leaves. Okay, so that is what example is what is Bryophyllum and what? And Begonia. So please take note of what? Of that also. Then lastly but not the least, we'll now look at what? Bulbils. Bulbils, okay? Bulbils. This bulbils is a small young plant, okay? A small young plant that is reproduced vegetatively, okay, by axillary buds on the parent plant stem. Okay, so the bulbils is a small young plant that is reproduced vegetatively by axillary buds on the parent plant stem. Okay, so please take note of what? Of that. An example, okay, is garlic. Okay, an example is what is garlic. Okay, so bulbils is a small young plant that is reproduced vegetatively by axillary buds, or we call them floral buds, okay, on the parent plant stem. Okay, like for example, the garlic. Now let's quickly talk about the artificial vegetative propagation, and we are done with this class. Okay, so for the artificial vegetative propagation, we have what? Cutting, we have grafting, and what? And the likes. Okay, so we're going to look at all of them one after what? The other. So we have one, cutting. Okay, so we have what? Grafting. Okay, number 3, we have budding. Then number 4, we have layering. Okay, this one that what? Artificial vegetative propagation methods. Okay, so we have cutting, we have grafting, we have budding, and we have what? Layering. All right, so now let us begin with what? With cutting. Okay, so for cutting, what we basically do is that we take a piece of what? Of the stem which has what? A node in it, and then we put it into what? A new plant. Okay, so that's what basically what happens in what? In cutting. Okay, it's just like a short piece, okay, of what? Of the parent plant, okay, that has a node in it, then we don't put it what? Into the ground. Okay, that's what basically what happened. Like for example, like your cassava plants. Okay, if you want to plant your cassava, what do? You just only cut what? A part of what? Of the stem, and what? You put it under the ground. Also, it is also observed in what? In roses. It's also observed in sugarcane. In sugarcane what? Plants. Okay, in sugarcane what? Plant. Okay, all of these are what? They are examples. Okay, that what? Cutting or stem cutting, okay, can be used. All right, so please take note of that. Now, that takes us to what? Grafting. In grafting, what we do is that we take what? Two different stems. Okay, the one we call the stalk. and then the what? The scion, okay? The scion, the stalk and the scion. And then we bring them together and then we tie them together, all right? And then the what? It forms what? A new what? Plant, okay? So that's what basically what happens in grafting. Two different stems are what? Are brought together, the stalk and the scion, all right? So the stalk is the one that is rooted to the ground, while the scion is one you are what? You are, that is being grafted with what? With the what? With the stalk. Okay, so once you bring them together, you see that what it forms, you tie them together, leave it to form what? A new what? Plant. Okay, so that is basically what happens what in grafting. Two species of plants, two species, okay, of plant are what are used when it comes to what? Grafting. All right, so that's where we have what? The stalk and what? And the scion. Okay, so part of the stem of the desirable plant is grafted what? Onto what? A rooted what? Plant, into a rooted plant. All right, so the part that is what? Grafted on what? On the rooted plant is called what? The scion. Okay, so this one you graft on the stalk, you graft the scion on what? On the stalk. Now that is what to budding. Okay, so budding involves what? Bring together of what? Of the bud. For budding, we bring together the bud, bud, and stalk. Okay, we bring together the bud and what? And the stalk. And the bud is usually gotten or taken from already mature tree. All right, so please take note of that. You take what? The bud from an already mature tree, and then what? You bring them together. That is what? Budding. All right, so you're bringing out what? The bud and the stalk, and bring them together, and then it forms what? A new what? Plant. Now for layering, what you do is that you take a stem or a stem that is attached to what? The plant. Okay, for layering, the stem that is attached to the plant is usually bent. You bend it for layering. Okay, you bend the stem that is attached to the what? To the what? To the plant. Okay, you bend the stem that is attached to what? To the plant. Most times we take what? Very young plants that have a flexible so that you can easily bend it. Okay, we do not take mature plants. Okay, we take young plants so that we can easily bend them. Okay, so what we do is that we bend them and then we cover it with soil, and of course we use young stems. We use young stems that can be bent without injury. Okay, we use young stems that can be bent without injury. So these are the four types of artificial vegetative propagation: cutting, grafting, budding, layering. All right, so please, you are expected to know what they are. Okay, as per your exam requirement. Okay, so let us quickly go to the app, answer the questions you have. If they're too easy, you'll be the one to just give me the answers in the comment section. Okay, let us go. 2016, number 9. They say an example. Okay, let me see. All right, they say an example of organism that reproduce by binary fission. Okay, all right. I told you that simple unicellular organism mostly. All right, very simple multicellular organism. Unicellular organisms or simple multicellular organism mostly. Okay, A says Volvos. B say Hydra, C say Paramecium, D say Spirogyra. Okay, the answer is looking at you there. We talked about it. We listed all of the organisms, okay, that reproduced by binary fission. So give me the answer in the comment section. 2022 number 30 say a form of asexual reproduction in which part of the parent organism breaks up and develops into an independent organism is known as A say budding, B say binary fission, C say vegetative propagation, D say fragmentation. Part of the parent organism breaks up, okay, into pieces, all right, and then develops into a new independent organism. All right, you know the answer, put it in the comment section. 2022 number 24 say which of the following is not a form of asexual reproduction? Is not a form. A say binary fission, B say binary fusion, C say budding, D say fragmentation. Tell me the answer in the comment section. Very easy also. 2018 number 11 says which of the following methods of reproduction is common to Paramecium and amoeba? A say conjugation, B say sexual reproduction, C say binary fission, D say budding. Okay, you know the answer. Put it in the comment section. 2011 number 26 say the type of asexual reproduction that is common to both Paramecium and protists is A says budding, B says sporulation, C say fragmentation, D say fission. You know the answer. Put it in the comment section. Okay, so we still have one. 2023, number 3, say, what is the process by which new organisms develop from pre-existing organisms? A says reproduction, B says ecology, C says growth, D says adaptation. All right, so there are so many questions, many more on the application. Just will download the app, activate it, start using it, and you give your testimony. All right, so I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for joining in.